Okay, I appreciate everyone's patience. We will get started now. Welcome to Calyptix Security webinar. We're going over the survey that we sent out the part of last year about hourly cost of downtime. And so we are going to today go over the results. And we're also going to be talking generally about Calyptix, a short roadmap, our history, and where we can position ourselves to not be a part of the downtime. We were looking to have this information in front of you so you can bring it to your clients. We also have two handouts on the webinar. One is called Downtime 2024 Handout, which is a truncated version of this presentation, as well as a more detailed version of the report, which is the ITIC Calyptix 2025 Security Hourly Cost of Downtime Report. If you have any questions, feel free to put it inside the chat or the questions. I will be monitoring them as this is presented by Laura. And, ask any questions. If it's pertinent to this webinar, we will answer them as we can. If it's another question having to do with Calyptic security, we will answer them as we can, either in this webinar or later on when we have the ability to do so. And without further ado, I would like to introduce Laura DiDio.
Good afternoon, everybody, or good morning, depending upon where you are. I'm Laura DiDio. I've been working with Calyptix now for over a year, and I've been covering security for a long time as an analyst and as a high technology reporter. I've worked at places like Computer World, PC Week, Network World, all those good things. And as an analyst, I've worked at Giga Information Group, which is now Forrester, Strategy Analytics, 451, Yankee Group. And security has always been an ongoing topic. And it's gotten, as all of you know, it's a crazy, scary world out there right now. So what we did, the aim of this survey, as you know, and thank you for all of you who participated in the survey. I've done a lot of surveys on hourly cost of downtime that involved customers and vendors of all sizes. What we wanted to do here, the aim was to see what's going on in the small business SMBs and micro SMBs who constitute a large portion of Calyptix customers. We also wanted to see what you're experiencing, how much you're spending. Have you had security breaches that were successful? We know everybody is, there are a lot of attempted hacks, but how many have been getting through? What things you're looking for in a firewall? So, and we think we answered them. We, as you'll see in the slides upcoming, we polled 115 Calyptix customers, which represents about 1/3 of Calyptix installed base. So we got some great feedback. There were some surprises and some things that we expected. So next slide, please.
Before we get into the survey,
Yes.
just want to do a brief overview. We were to have Greg on, but it looks like we're having a bit of a connection issue with him. Might be the internet, might be whatever. But I'll go ahead and just go over what Greg was supposed to go over here. Introduction to Calyptix right here. We are a 17-year-old company. We have over 350 partners and thousands of users in Canada and soon Latin America. This is designed and developed from a foundation of architecture and upwards for small business owners. It's made to support in the US. We provide comprehensive firewall protection, which will be our flagship product, Access Enforcer. It's US made and supported and proudly developed and supported in the US. Brief history, we started in 2002 from a PhD that Lawrence Teo had put together, and it's been the lifeblood of Access Enforcer from the beginning to now, where it's manifested into Community Shield. As you can see, there has been a long history of things updating from, version 1.0 all the way now to we have version AE7. Now, brief roadmap of what we got going on forward. We have launched the Calyptix Cloud Manager (CCM), and that is a platform that is developed in-house that allows you to make large swath changes against your whole entire fleet by templating, baselining, and pushing these changes to your entire fleet, many access enforcers you may be working with. Another thing would be we are rebuilding the web filter from the ground up. From the tests that I've seen so far, it's actually really, really, really good. So I hope you enjoy that. That's slated for AE version 7.0.4. And to reiterate, we always strive to have an unmatched support and service within our company and to our partners. We always try to have it to where everyone is heard, everyone can get to a phone to person on the phone and get the answers they need quickly. That is what we're trying to achieve. Two things that are not really announced yet, but we want to tell you about, at least it's going to be on the horizon. We do have something that we're going to be unveiling pretty soon, which will be the next level of protection for you to secure and monitor your network, as well as another product that is advanced security made simple. That's about as much as I can really tell about it, but I would say it's very exciting to get forward. Now, let's dig into it.
Okay, thanks, Joseph. And one of the things that I'd just like to add to what you said about Calyptix is that the mantra that the CEO, Ben Yarborough, and Lawrence Teo, the founder and chief technology officer, have is SMBs, micro SMBs are our people. So what they strive to do, and I think they, based on the survey responses, they've done a pretty credible job here, is give you, as Joseph said, top-notch technical service and support, access right away to things. And if you report a problem, they'll help you fix it. They'll even help you sometimes with your third-party vendors if there's a glitch or a snafu there.
That's
And
true.
that's very important because many of the companies, the larger organizations that do firewalls, routers, etc., they sometimes will not come out with a patch or a fix until there's critical mass. And that's just not going to work in an SMB or a micro SMB world. So what we aimed to do here was really find out what was going on, as I said, within the SMBs and micro SMBs who are Calyptix MSP partners and corporate customers. So we had, as you can see, there was no vendor sponsorship. None of you got paid except with the data that we're going to give you. And we talked to, over the past year, Greg Goodall, Ben Yarborough, have made a concerted effort to get on the phone, touch base with many of you. And some of you I've talked to also in doing case studies to find out what's going on. So our focus here was what was happening with the number of successful security hacks and breaches, your downtime estimates, how you're assessing your top security threats and challenges, and what specifically you want to see in firewalls. Again, Calyptix sweet spot remains 60% of you are micro SMBs, MSPs, and companies with 1 to 10 servers. That remains Calyptix core constituency. At the same time, what we're finding is that as Calyptix expands and grows the access enforcer base and the suite of products, we're seeing people in the SMB space and small and mid-sized enterprises. That's 20% of the survey participants have up to from 11 to 37 to 30 servers in the organization. And we also have 20% that are a bit larger, that have 31 to 51 and well over 51 servers. So the next slide, please. No surprises here. security is the number one cause of unplanned downtime, and hourly cost of is the biggest contributor to hourly cost of downtime across all classes of users, and as well as the SMBs and micro SMBs in this particular survey. That's according to 86% of you. And let me just say that number has been rising steadily over the past 6 or 7 years. Prior to the COVID pandemic, other surveys that I did we only found that about 22% of organizations, all classes, said security was the number one threat. Now, the past several years, it's on the rise and it shows no signs of abating. So, what are the biggest problems? Well, guess what? If I had to say what the overarching theme is among the MSPs and corporate customers, it's we have met the enemy and it is us. That is, end users and especially remote employees are the biggest perpetrators of downtime. They're lax, the end users, in installing or turning on security features, whether it's antivirus, anti-phishing, firewall, because let's face it, security, it's always been security versus usability. So many of these end users ignore or flout their firm's corporate security policies. One of the things that we heard in the essay comments from this survey time and time again is that, hey, the thing that you fear most is what happens when the users are remote or out of sight. You can't control them. We're also seeing that all classes of users, you need at least 4 nines, 5 nines of uptime. Nobody has any time for downtime. Okay, you don't tolerate it any more than you like it when there's a power outage. So, and then again, another issue here is the cost of unplanned hourly downtime, most of which is attributable to security issues, has increased in 93% of corporations. Now, SMBs as a whole constituency, often the larger SMBs, often estimate 1 hour of downtime at anywhere from 100,000 to 150,000. So when we polled you folks, 37% of Calyptix customers and partners say hourly downtime is costing your firm from 1,000 to 5,000. And that's a reasonable number. And we'll dig into that a little bit more. So we're also seeing that planned downtime, where you're taking systems offline, is increasing among all customers. And we're seeing 3/4 of firms, organizations now spending an average 2 to 8 hours on planned downtime to apply these security patches, fixes, upgrades, retrofitting, your hardware, provisioning new apps. So, next slide, please. To reiterate, you can see lack of control over remote end users is the top security challenge and the thing that you fear most. By the way, one big surprise in the survey, and we'll talk about this a little bit later as we get onto that slide, is that only 18% of Calyptix partners and customers say that they have experienced a successful security hack or data breach in the last 12 to 18 months. I think this figure is grossly underestimated, but we'll see. And what you want, again, this is not a surprise. It's a no-brainer. The Calyptix MSP partners and customers want the same thing that your enterprise counterparts need and require. Greater functionality in those firewalls. You want to be alerted to what's going to happen because you've got your hands full. You want top-notch technical support, and you want those support people to be available to you, which Calyptix has, is all the time. And you want accelerated fixes and patches when vulnerabilities emerge. So the next slide, please. Okay, so I alluded to this, 1 in 5 Calyptix partners are in that mid-size group with 31 to 50 or more servers in the organization. But as you can see, 60% of you are in that 1 to 10 servers, with another 13% saying, hey, we've got 11 to 20 servers. So we're solidly, you are our core constituents, you are our people. We're not going to make you go to the back of the line or treat you like a second-class citizen because you're not big enough for us. So as we turn to the next slide, what are the must-have features that you want in a firewall? Well, again, you'll see some no-brainers here, but we ask anyway. Nearly all of you said threat protection and detection. You want the ability to block suspicious IP addresses. That's 93%. You want the ability to block threats and suspicious activities by country, and Calyptix does that. And like everyone else, you want ease of use and deployment, because let's face it, particularly in the small micro SMBs and MSPs, you don't have a surplus of IT managers. These IT managers and security admins are juggling a lot of things. And again, as you see, as I've alluded to, 8 out of 10 want your vendor to quickly release fixes and address any issues. You also want very high reliability, and this one is always a perennial favorite. You want your vendors, whoever they may be, firewall, servers, application vendors, to be able to quickly ship replacement parts and units whenever something goes wrong. And that's been a problem for some of the firewall vendors, the chip vendors over the past few years, particularly in COVID. Of course, pricing is important to all of you, and you want that comprehensive US-based tech support and multi-factor authentication. But multi-factor authentication is it's a necessary evil. That is, your users, the end users in any of these groups, are not happy about it, but it's necessary. One thing we did see is that only 8% of Calyptix MSP partners and customers are currently viewing AI as a priority. We expect that to change this year and going forward as AI becomes more widely deployed and also gets through its growing pains. Next slide, please. So how much are you spending on security, including your hardware, software, and services? So only a 7% minority of you said you don't have a separate security budget, but over 1/3 of you are spending from $1,000 to $10,000 annually on security products. And again, that's a very reasonable number if you're a micro SMB or a small SMB. However, it's interesting to note, if you see the bottom down here, those two bars, we've got 12% of Calyptix partners and customers who are spending upwards of $50,000 to over $100,000 on securing the networks. So we know that it's important to you. And we've also got 11% that are spending from $20,000 to $50,000. So this just reinforces the notion: security, security, security. Nobody wants to take the chance. Moving to the next slide. This is the one we were talking about. 18% said that they experienced a successful hack in the last 12 to 18 months. I would posit that this number is very low. Traditionally, whenever I've done a security survey, talked at conferences, done consulting with end users, whether they're small, mid-sized, or very large enterprises, nobody wants to really reveal, hey, we were hacked. When you really get into it, there have been successful hacks. And I will tell you that according to the FBI security survey that they do every year, up to 5% of organizations only find out they've been hacked when law enforcement or somebody else tells them about it. So I understand if you don't want to talk about it, but just saying, hey, we haven't been hacked is not a good reason to be complacent or feel like you can relax. We had a couple of people in the survey who responded with the essay question saying, well, we're too small to be hacked. No, no, no. Nobody is too small. Hackers can, if you get even ankle biter hackers or casual hackers that are not in an organized group, if they can hack an individual or a small company and get even $100 out of them or $1,000, and they do 10 of those a day, they're making some good bank there. So do not let your guard down whatsoever. Next slide. Do you calculate the hourly cost of downtime? I've been doing hourly cost of downtime surveys going back to the early 2000s when I was a research fellow at the Yankee Group. And what I can tell you is the Calyptix constituency, what you've said here, it's your response is that only 27% of you calculate hourly downtime cost is pretty much in line with what we hear from every survey that I've done on hourly cost of downtime since the early 2000s. I did one very, very large survey, and the respondents initially said 50% of them said, yes, we calculate hourly downtime costs. But when we added in some deeper dive questions that would really expose, had they done it, it came out no. Only about 1 in 4 companies could really say, here's how much downtime cost. The most believable thing and the other thing here is that the 9% who said that they were unsure, again, this pretty much tracks with a lot of what we're hearing. So essentially, it's almost 3/4. I would put the 9% who are unsure in the no category. They're leaning closer towards the no. But we're going to talk about why it's a bad idea to ignore your hourly downtime costs. Next slide. This here is a placeholder for you folks. This is for all large enterprises. You're obviously not in this category, but it gives you an idea of what's going on in the larger framework. As you can see, among large enterprises, 0% said that they're spending up to $10,000. The biggest group comes in that over 5 million. But as we turn to the next slide, we'll see how much you're saying that your hourly downtime costs are. So 1 in 4, about 26% of you say we're spending between $1,000 and $3,000. Now, we had 7% of you who said, no, we don't have hourly downtime. It costs nothing. That is false. There is downtime cost associated with every activity. Even if you're only down for a couple of minutes and you think nothing's happened, what you have is, in very small firms, you might have the water cooler effect. That is, the system is down, so somebody goes up and they say, I'm going to get a cup of coffee, I'm going to start chatting with my coworkers, and that's lost time. Now, we expect that Calyptix, MSP partners, and SMB customers are going to have lower outage costs than large enterprises, except in specific or catastrophic instances. All of these numbers that you see here are fluid. They're not static. Anything can happen. So there are going to be a lot of dependencies here and caveats. How long did the outage last? How severe was it? Was any data lost, stolen, changed? What was the type of the outage? And then there are a lot of external issues that will bedevil all of us that we don't have a lot of control over. Supply chain, inflation, etc. So those figures, but you really have to start calculating the downtime cost and look at what's happened. So, for example, just to take one instance, if you have an outage of 15 minutes where something goes down and the network is inaccessible, and you're a small physician's office or small banking branch office, and you're down for 15 minutes, there's a lot that can happen. Your business operations stop. How do you to give people their bills, to make appointments. So all of those things pile up. And that downtime, while you might not have lost any data, you have to calculate what's 15 minutes of time in your office and how is that time made up? And you also have to calculate when we talk about hourly downtime cost, it's not just hard dollars and cents. Sometimes those soft costs are even more damaging, such as to your reputation, etc. So as we proceed to the
Excuse me, Laura, this is Greg. I'm sorry to
you're back.
be late. I had a technical problem.
Okay, so we're going to move to the next slide, and Greg, feel free to chime in. So what we did here, and this slide is very busy, but it just gives you an idea of what the monetary cost of unplanned hourly downtime is per minute and per device. I put server up here, or it's also any application. So you go down the thing, and if you calculate your hourly downtime cost at $10,000, that the cost associated with that application based on a minute with 60 minutes in an hour can go up. So say you say, well, our hourly downtime cost might only be $500 a minute for that firewall device, whatever application. That might be $8 or $9. Doesn't sound like a lot. But what if you have 5 or 10 servers in the organization? You've got to multiply those numbers. Okay, so it's just this is just a nice placeholder to take a look at, and you can see how it goes up commensurately. Next slide. Okay, this basically refers to what we talked about before. 86% are talking is security. Okay, and then we see 75% is human error. So yes, worried about what the users are doing, that is a very well-founded fear and challenge. Remote work and remote learning, that's right up there as well, almost 7 out of 10. And then notice, we still have software flaws and bugs. You still have the complexity in provisioning and configuring new applications. But as we go down, the edge computing, and I'm calling out edge computing here because, of course, many of the firewalls are located at the edge. That's 14%. Among the Calyptix users in this survey, that number was down to only 5%, thanks to the robustness of the Calyptix Access Enforcer and its many features like the Community Shield. Next slide, excuse me. Again, this just gives you the average hourly downtime cost in top verticals for all customers, but a lot that are in the enterprise situation. But it's just good to know. Next slide. Here are the minimum reliability requirements in these top 10 vertical industries. Again, you're seeing in banking, finance, government, education, healthcare, manufacturing, media, retail, transportation is a big one. And there are a lot of Calyptix customers who are in the trucking industry and utilities, agriculture. So what we're seeing is that those reliability requirements are going up. Now, 99%, 4 nines of reliability was the gold standard. That's quickly becoming 5 nines and higher. And what is 4 nines of uptime? That's 52 minutes of unplanned downtime or outages, or just 33 minutes, 4.3 minutes per device or server or application on a monthly basis. So again, what we're seeing is no time for downtime. There's no tolerance for it. Next slide. Okay, so here are our best practices and procedures. Greg, I'm going to let you take over here and talk to this a little bit because you're very close to the AE enforcer and the customers here.
Right. And certainly the firewall security is very comprehensive and includes a number of functionalities such as access enforcer. We allow thousands of rules to detect and prevent network threats, undesirable traffic, and so forth. As a comprehensive solution, we also have geofence, which allows or blocks traffic from selected countries. Gatekeeper shields RDP, SSH, HTTPS, SFTP, VNC, and other ports and systems from the public internet. Community Shield provides automated traffic correlation and protection from threat actors and is shared amidst all of the servers on the network. In addition, we automatically push updates out to our customer sites and don't need to have them do it on their end unless they wish to do that. So it provides a lot of capability in auditing and testing as we utilize the technology, and we try to unburden our partners and customers from things that we can do automatically versus you having to do it on your end.
Which is what you've been telling us in all these conversations we've been having with all of you. All of these features that AE delivers basically have the end result of hardening the firewall, giving you access to the logging and the alerts that you've been telling us that you need. But on the bottom here, where we're talking about auditing and testing, there is no way to get around this. I don't care how small you are, you should be conducting regular audits. You need to continually verify the effectiveness of your firewall. And if you can manage to build it into your budget, you want to potentially have a third party come in at least once a year and help you out with vulnerability testing. Okay, next slide. Now, these are general best practices and procedures, and in one of the handouts that Joseph will be giving you later, it's the ITIC Calyptix security threats and downtime. We have some of these replicated there so you can hand them out. But you need to take inventory. You have to know what's on your network. A lot of times we find that customers have a real problem when there's a device, whether it's a server or there's a firewall, it's old, it's in a closet somewhere, you've forgotten about it. And that could be a potential open port or vulnerability to your network. Now, in smaller companies, here's where you have the edge on the enterprise partners. You pretty much, because you have a more limited scope, limited number of people, it should make it easier to uncover and discover, if you will, what's on your network. Again, I can't state this enough. You need to do vulnerability and penetration testing for your firewalls at least once a year. And again, do not procrastinate or delay. I know I have that issue, but you think you can put something off until tomorrow and then disaster can strike. That's the thing with security. These hackers are very organized. They're very pernicious, and they've gotten really good, the hacks themselves. It's hard even for security firms to discern when they're being hacked. To give you an idea, KnowBe4, they're a company in Florida that does penetration. They do vulnerability and security awareness training. They've been growing, and they've been hiring people in many of their different offices in different countries. They inadvertently hired somebody from Korea who was supposed to be one of their technical admins, and the person ended up being a spy. So even even the experts can be hoodwinked or fooled. And remember, the hackers themselves, they only have to be right once. As an MSP, as a small company, whether you're in healthcare, legal, government, academic, you have to be right most of the time. And that's where Calyptix will come in to actively notify you of critical failures and anomalies that could negatively impact your daily operations. Again, this is very basic, but you need to get the appropriate security awareness certification for not only your security and IT pros, but your end users. And if you're in a small company, MSP, the buck begins and ends and stops with your C-level executives, the CEO. They have to really espouse security. What we find is that the companies where the C-level executives take security seriously are the ones that where the end users and other people in the company follow it. You need to update and implement mandatory computer security policies and procedures, just the same way as HR gives you a handout, okay, at the end of the day, and say, hey, you've got to um, participate. All companies, it's mandatory for everybody in the company to participate in sexual harassment training or what have you. Computer security policies and procedures and training should be an integral part of your organization. And you're going to have to disseminate and enforce these policies, disseminate them via whether it's the corporate included in the corporate handbook. And the policies should also include what happens if an end user flouts it. So you should make consideration for first time offenders. Maybe they get a warning. Second time, you could take some action. And if it's repeat offenders, depending upon what's happened and the severity, you may want to consider including termination and even prosecution in this. You should also regularly update your backup and remediation plans. And the next thing that everybody should have, again, I don't care if there's 5 or 10 people in the company, all of us, everybody who has kids or pets, you always have that thing stuck to the refrigerator that says, okay, here are the important numbers to have, which is poison control hotline, your local police department, whatever. From the same way, you should construct an operational level agreement, OLA plan, that will specify how you are, your specific governance activities following a security breach. And so who is responsible for what activities if there's been a security breach? Who's in charge? Who reports to whom? What are the actions you need to take? Who are the contacts that you need to reach out to amongst your own vendors? And we will be giving you a handout on this from research that I've done that can help you with it. And if there is interest, we'll be happy to do take questions on it, or also give you another webinar if you're interested in this topic. The other thing is you need to review and revise your firm's existing service level agreements with all of your vendors, business partners, suppliers, and customers. And that means the SLAs specify the minimum requirements for reliability, downtime, etc. So you need to know, take a look at these agreements, and everybody who is a stakeholder has to know, are we meeting our agreements with all of our people? And are our vendors meeting their agreements with us? If not, that could be very, very problematic, particularly as more of us move to the cloud. And finally, cyber insurance, you should be looking at that. Not saying you absolutely have to have it, but it might be a good thing. And the cost is coming down. It's becoming more mainstream. Greg, is there anything you'd like to add? Oh, Greg might not be there. Okay, next slide then. So
With cyber insurance, if you do have strong policies and procedures and the proper implementation of hardware and software, the cost of cyber insurance comes down, and they will do, some sort of an audit to see what in fact you do have implemented, and based upon that, they will adjust their rates. So it is better to be, have strong procedures, policies, and solutions to get the lowest cost for cyber insurance.
it's not just cost though, Greg. You have to read the fine print in the contract. So take a look at what, review these contracts the same way you would review your homeowner's insurance or your car insurance. Make sure, hey, if there are a couple of, how many incidents will they support you in? You don't want to get into a situation where you have several hacks and suddenly you get dropped. That's something also. And finally, as you see on this slide, the call to action, and I've been emphasizing this, we can't say it enough. Complacency is the biggest security threat. While security vendors from Calyptix on up to the application vendors, I don't care if you have IBM, Microsoft, HP, SAP, or Norton Antivirus, whatever, they are responsible for giving you good, solid products that are robust and that help you safeguard and fortify your data assets, etc. But the other 50% of the equation is you as the customer, whether you're an MSP, whether you're a reseller, whether you are an end user or a vendor. You have to take charge of your own security. Nobody is immune. And just like I'm sure I'd love to see a show of hands from people, anybody who's been driving for 5, 10, 20 years more, at some point you're going to get a parking ticket, or you might be an offender bender. Very few people get out unscathed. It's the same thing with security. And what we're seeing here is the hacks are going up, the hourly downtime costs and risks are continuing to rise. Downtime of any duration is going to be disruptive, even if you don't think it's that expensive. Okay, so you can see here's the list of what happens when something goes down. Lost productivity. Hey, is your data getting exfiltrated? If one of your customers or suppliers or business partners' data is exposed as a result of something that happened on your network, you could be liable for civil, criminal penalties and fines. People are more and more litigious, and you have to worry about the damage to your reputation that can result in lost business. And as a micro MSP partner or customer, you don't have, in most instances, the deep pockets and budgets of large enterprises. Something goes wrong, and if it goes really wrong, you could be out of business. So again, we hope that never happens. I'm not trying to do scare tactics here, but you need to ensure that you're minimizing downtime, mitigating your risk, and that reliability and security is an inherent feature of all of your devices. Don't skimp on security spending, and don't skimp on the training. So the next slide. We've come to the end. So I'd love to hear any of your questions if you have them. And if you can't think of anything.
Excuse me, Laura. Can I touch on the new solutions that we're coming out with this year. Or did Joseph touch on that?
You can
Uh,
reiterate.
yeah, you can reiterate. The floor is yours, Greg.
Okay, it's very quickly. And again, folks, I apologize for my technical problems. But we have a couple different products that are coming out. One is ready to go out the door, and that's our Calyptix Cloud Manager, which allows you to manage your networks as you grow and your clients grow. And it has many different tools within it that make it very comprehensive. The second upgrade is our Access Enforcer web filter that we have done a complete rebuild on. So it's much faster. It's much more accurate filtering with a stronger scalability and accuracy for the more advanced web traffic that's out today. Then we have two additional products that we have not announced. One is a next level protection. It's very powerful. It enables you to have a stronger, secure environment from an end-to-end perspective. And another new release is Advanced Security Made Simple. It's a solution that redefines ease of use that most entities have not seen before. And we have presented these two products under an NDA to a few of our partners, and in all cases, they were really enthused with them both. So you'll be hearing a lot about them here in the very near future. And then we have another initiative, which is for CMMC compliance initiative, which, if you're not familiar with that, it's a Department of Defense created rule that vendors that wish to do business with the Defense Department or the Defense Industrial Base, called CMMC, which is Cybersecurity Maturity Model Certification. So we are working with a couple different entities to enable Calyptix to provide certification efforts for our partners, which will enable you to do business with DoD and their defense entity base in the very near future. And CMMC compliance is a requirement by DoD to do business with them, which is required later this year. So for those entities that are already doing business in the defense market, and you're probably already very familiar with CMMC, for those that are not doing business with the defense environment and entities, you might be very interested in this in order to expand your business into the defense world. So that is coming as well. So we have a number of new products, solutions. Some are right at the doorstep, ready to go. Others will be out within 2 months, and then followed by the CMMC compliance effort.
Thanks, Greg. Does anybody have any questions now? We'd love to hear them. And if, so hopefully you have some questions. If not, I hope we've answered them, but you can always feel free to ask the appropriate Calyptix account managers and technical folks as they arise. And we will be, we'd love to also hear if you have any suggestions for what topics you'd like to see for future webinars and future white papers and reports.
One thing, Laura, we have had in-depth partner reviews with over 30 of our partners, where we spend an hour to an hour and a half learning where they are in the business, how could we be further support for them. And then Ben has implemented our account success managers, and each partner will be assigned one of the success managers, and they'll be in touch with you. And if you'd like to have an in-depth review session with us, we'd be most happy to do so. And you've probably seen emails from me talking about that program, and it has been very beneficial. The 30 or so that we've done, it's been very beneficial to the partner, and it's been very beneficial to us. So we would certainly like to do that. feel free to request it, and our success managers will reach out to you to encourage you to take advantage of that.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Laura. As we wrap up, I just want to let everyone know we do have a couple questions here that I pretty much answered ourselves. What is the total number of respondents to the survey, which is approximately 120 partners that we have polled here at Calyptix, and also what the demographics would be, size of partners, deployed units, or anything like that. Out of all the partners polled, it was the average size of deployed units was 15 to 20, but that's average. To finish up here, this is recorded, this webinar, so you will be able to access this in the partner portal. We will have that on the main homepage, as well as the 2 handouts and the slide deck to go along with that. So if anyone has any questions about the webinar, or anything having to do with the partner portal, you can email us at either info@calyptix.com, or if it's partner portal at portal@calyptix.com. Thank you both, Greg and Laura, for handling this, and appreciate all the information you had given us.
Thanks.
Thank you, everybody.
Have a good day, everyone. Thank you.